just the angle. 3, 2, 1, time! 4-time with Myriad. You got Coach Jared.
And Coach Anna.
And today we are going to be talking about the big announcement that's been looming throughout the Myriad community, specifically fitness and CrossFit, the programming, that we are going to share today. And we're going to dive deep into that, which is Anna's expertise because it's programming related.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to lob it up there. What's happening?
Oh, caught it. Well, we've been teasing this for like a week or two now. Some of our members have had the chance to play with some of this. And staff. Our staff have played with it a lot, and some of our members have as well. But we are going to be changing our CrossFit programming, or essentially working, working with an organization or program company called the Level Method for our CrossFit programming. So just in like the world of CrossFit, I feel like it's helpful to kind of just educate people on how programming works. So CrossFit HQ is the big overseeing organization that all CrossFit gyms come from and are affiliated under. However, everyone is individually owned and operated and can do programming however they want. And a lot of different gyms do it a lot of different ways. So there are some gyms who follow the main site programming. Maybe they do it a few days behind, or maybe they do it the day of. They follow the main site programming, or now CAP, CrossFit Affiliate Programming, is another kind of variation of that.
And that's CrossFit.com. If you went to CrossFit.com, they have a workout they post every single day, and they have since 2003?
Oh, yeah.
2001, 1999?
Yeah, I think 01.
2003, I think it is.
I think 01.
Maybe 01. 01 sounds right.
So that's one way of doing it. A lot of gyms program entirely in-house. So someone at the gym writes the programming, and that is largely how we have done it throughout our history. For a long time, it was Jared and Peter going back and forth, rotating through 2 weeks. They would meet together, talk about the coming weeks of programming, talk about the bigger picture of what we wanted to be seeing on a macro scale, and then break it down into 2-week cycles. I eventually went into that rotation, so it was the three of us programming and meeting consistently. Eventually, I was doing the CrossFit programming, and that was the case for a number of years. Over that time frame, we played around with some other outsourcing our programming. So I played around with the Mayhem programming. That's Rich Froning's gym is the Mayhem programming. There's CompTrain. There's a bunch of different organizations. Hyperfit programming. There's a bunch of different places where you can get programming.
It's probably 100 plus places now.
Yeah, so you really are trying to find what works for your community. One of the things that's nice about doing it in-house is you can really tailor it to your unique members, but it's a ton of work to do it in-house. And it's hard to have a really good system and process in place when you're doing it in-house, when those people who are in charge of the programming, myself, Richie, Steven, also have a bunch of other things that they're doing. So the value and benefit of doing it from an outsourced place is there are people who are really dedicated to just working on programming.
Literally 100% of their work is programming.
Yeah, so that's kind of how programming works, and we are making the decision to go with the Level Method after a lot of research and time.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So the Level Method's been out for 8 years, 9 years. I think 8 years is the actual number. We were introduced to them probably 2017, 18 at Two Brain Business Summit, which is a national, actually worldwide conference for CrossFit gyms, fitness industry, and Level Method was there, and we were introduced to it. Personally, I love the idea. Peter loved the idea then. I know you loved the idea then, but we just had too much going on, and we were confident in what we were doing at the time from our programming perspective. And also there was a feeling that they weren't prepared yet, or we weren't prepared into this new venture that they had going. So Level Method was new at that time, and I knew there was going to be a lot to tackle to make this system like all-encompassing as it is now and has become at this point in time. And it wasn't, and we've been talking about this now for what, 2 years, 3 years?
I remember having a conversation with someone from the Level Method. It was either 2019 or 2020, and feeling like very much like, this is really cool. I'm not sure, it feels like maybe not the right time for our gym, But definitely something that was like kind of always in the back of my mind, our minds, as something that might be a good fit down the road.
Yeah.
And we are down the road.
We're down the road. And here we are down the road to talk about what is Level Method. So we're already 5 minutes in.
Okay.
And we've talked about our history, our excitement. What is it?
So the Level Method is a more, I would say, like group programming, but on a very personal level.
Love it. Individualized.
Yeah. So one of the kind of frameworks or phrases that they use is that it's a GPS system to find out where your fitness is right now through assessments, kind of testing in a bunch of different categories, figuring out where your fitness is. And then you have the opportunity to check in, address what are your weaknesses, what do I want to work on, how can I move my fitness forward, and then eventually setting goals to progress your fitness. So again, that kind of GPS mindset of where am I at, where do I want to go, and then how do I get there?
And just to call this out, we're going to have another complete video, like going in depth of what those assessments are, what that looks like. We want to set every member up for success on what we're going to be doing here to onboard people into the system. Another piece of this puzzle that I love about Level Method is it's going to have a physical 4x8 map that's going to be on a wall. So it's going to be a 4 foot by 8 foot wall map, and then there's different colors. And so it's very similar to the martial arts world, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where there's a lot of different colors, just like you would have a belt system of where you're progressing, or maybe actually regressing based on your goals, for example. Like maybe you're here and then you have a goal to come down just a little bit. So whatever that may look like.
I think a good example is like recognizing where, the assessments, it's meant to look at you as a very well-rounded athlete. So Level Method is definitely a CrossFit-based programming. They are looking at the whole athlete. We're not just trying to make people really strong. We're not just trying to make people really fast. The Level Method is looking at everything. So kind of what Jared was speaking to, recognizing that if you're training for a marathon, but when you start that training, maybe your strength is pretty far advanced on the Level Method system, but then as you start working on running more, getting in more mileage, maybe doing less weights in the gym, you might see your strength regress a little bit, but it's because you're working towards something else. And that's okay. That's because you're working towards a very specific goal. We can't be, at the high level of every single aspect of our fitness all the time.
So I'm an athlete. I've been watching this and I'm like, okay, cool. Well, what's this like really mean for me? And like they're gonna walk in July 8th. We can talk about like the deep dive on the assessments later on. But like what is like the assessment gonna look like, I guess, from that perspective? Like they walk in July 8th, what does that look like?
Well, you're gonna.
And why am I saying July
8th? Because the assessment phase does begin on July 8th. So you'll see probably some very different programming for a few weeks when we start the assessment phase. It'll be a little bit different than you're used to. It's just a lot of testing to kind of get baseline numbers. But honestly, it's not going to feel, for the most part, outside of what we normally do. It's just going to be a lot more testing back to back to back instead of being more spread out. Like we do benchmark workouts pretty consistently in the gym, but we maybe do like one a week along with maybe we do one heavy lift a week. This is going to be 3 weeks of checking in on where your fitness is at in 15 different categories. That being said, this initial phase is really just getting a baseline. I don't want people to feel like you have to be killing yourself, stressing your central nervous system every single day.
Guilty.
Yeah. So just getting a good base, like I think almost think about it more like a 90% max effort.
I would even say 75 to 80, just from my own perspective of
like an 80 to 90 RPE, rate of perceived exertion, as you're getting started with this. And then that's just your baseline, and then you progress from there.
So one of the phrases they like to use that we're leaning into is like just get on the map, right? And so getting on the map is when we do assessment, everyone can get on the map. Like no matter what level you are, skill level you are, whether you've been doing CrossFit with us for a long time, whether you've been a member with us for a long time, whether you're like watching this and you're like, I want to change something, do something different, or I've been on the couch for the last 5 years, like, you can do it and get on the map, and that's what we're here for. And so excited for that opportunity. But when you get on the map, just get there and don't do what Jared did, which is try to get really far down the map right away and then end up hurt 5 out of 6 times because I can't check my own ego. So that's a Jared experience thing that I wanted to share out to everyone else, because over time you can, as long as you stay consistent, you will work yourself up the map and level up, which is the whole point of the level method as we work ourselves through.
Just get some baseline data and we'll go from there. So,
anything you want to add on that specific topic?
I think my biggest piece of advice for people is change is hard and change can be scary. And I just want people to give this like 2 or 3 days and it will make sense. I think it's a lot of information. There's a lot going on. It's a lot of change at once. But based on working with the staff, working with some members through the assessments, I feel like every single person, after we've done 2 or 3 assessments, they have that light bulb moment of like, oh my gosh, I totally get it. So if you're feeling at all apprehensive, give it a minute. And
I was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Looking at some of the different assessments, the flexibility one, I'm just like, what? Where am I supposed to be? What's going on? I don't get this. But like once you, to Anna's point, once you are physically there, we will have coaches at each of these classes. We're going to try to have 2 coaches at most classes during the assessment period. The 2 to 3 week assessment period, we have been warned.
It's a lot and
it's a little clunky, but once you get through that, every gym we've talked to has said that they don't know how they could run their gym without level method, which to me is a pretty strong statement for somebody to share. So we're super pumped. Anna, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but Anna's going to stay on with us for another extra month because of the level method, because of how excited she is. So
contracting, I'm helping out.
So you'll see Anna through the month of July, which she was not going. She was going to be done July 1st originally. So there's that bonus as well. So we're super pumped for that too. But yeah, we're just ready to level up.
Level up.
Time.
D.